I'm telling them that I can't breathe. Clearly he don't give a damn about my plea. His ancestors used to hang us on trees. Today they identify as road police. You see I'm black, for that I'm a threat to America. My rise is their fall and their fall is evident. Blood on your hands is heavier than an elephant. Open up America's closet and see skeletons. They killing us for walking, killing.
My name is Tony and welcome to Sandy Speaks. This is actually, well, I want to say the very first Sandy Speaks video, but it's the very first Sandy Speaks video hosted by me, Tony. Sandy Speaks was originally created by a beautiful black civil rights activist, Sandra Bland. And if you don't know the story of Sandra Bland again was a beautiful, intelligent black civil rights activist. Sandra Bland was actually found dead in a Texas jail cell. If you know the story, she was stopped in a minor traffic accident, traffic violation in Texas, in Hempstead, Texas, Hempstead County, maybe Texas, by Officer Brian Encino. I might be saying his name incorrectly. At any rate, she was stopped for a minor traffic violation. I'll leave the link below of the video if you're not familiar with it. And she was trying to exercise her civil rights as an American citizen. And the officer felt like she didn't have rights because she's a black woman. The short of it is she was found dead in a Texas jail cell. I personally believe she was murdered. But at any rate, if you watch the video, you will see of the actual arrest that Sandra Bland was exercising her civil rights as an American citizen. And this officer, like many other people in authority, didn't value her as a human being or cared about her civil rights. So he arrested her for a minor traffic violation. And for me, as a black woman, it's very hurtful. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys, I'll get emotional in these videos because this is very emotional for me. I am disgusted with the racial climate in America, and I think it's high time that black people are free, that we are released from the bondage that we've been in for over 400 years. So Sandy Speaks, originally Sandra Bland started this series to educate young black youth on racial justice or how to navigate America safely. That's what I believe originally Sandy Speaks was about. And so what I believe is that Sandra gave her life for me, you, other black people. And I also think if you're a non-black person and you're an American citizen, I believe Sandra Bland also gave her life for you, because racial injustice, racial discrimination, it's a racial thing, but more importantly, it is a character flaw, okay? People who are racist or view people from different nationalities, different cultures as beneath them, or do they have any negative emotions or opinions based on that person's creed, race, or whatever, I think it's an ethical character flaw. So when black people's civil rights are violated, non-black people, I also think that you should be concerned, because if they do this to black people, this has to do with a character flaw. This has to do with lack of morals and integrity. So if they will do it to me or any other black woman, black man because of our race, they have poor judgment and they have poor character. So again, going back to Sandy Speaks, hearing about her death and seeing the video and recognizing that Sandra Bland gave her life for me. And I think about so many civil rights activists in the past 100 years who tried to fight and stand up for black people. And I appreciate that. And being that she lost her life just by trying to evoke her civil rights, I plan on picking up when Sandra Bland left off. I should also disclose one of the things that also encouraged me or give me an incentive. I'm also the victim of racial injustice. If you're watching this video, you're either watching it on YouTube or on the website Judge Sarah Heidel is a Racist, or you might even be watching it on Instagram. But I have my own story about racial injustice, and you can find out more about that in that video series. What we're going to talk about freeing Black people from bondage. We're going to talk about racial injustice in the legal system. We're going to identify those people who continue to violate us. So let me give you some background as to what the nature of Sandy Speaks, what our value proposition will be. Okay, so Sandy Speaks will shine a light on the injustices in America. We will focus on creating solutions, measurable solutions that will improve the quality of life for Black people. Sandy Speaks' value proposition will be to create harmony in the lives of Black people, Black Americans. So, some Black people, you may not even be familiar with the word harmony. But Sandy Speaks' value proposition is to create harmony in the lives of Black Americans. To have harmony in life means having the ability to handle life's different areas such as career, health, relationships, and make them work in your favor, for progress, I should say. Progress simply means having the ability to work things for you to where you can maybe find life's meaning and contentment. So Sandy Speaks' value proposition is to create harmony in the lives of Black Americans. Police brutality remains on the forefront of injustice inflicted upon Black people. So the big thing currently, this is October the 2nd, 2020, the big thing that everyone's up in arms about is the police brutality afflicted upon Black people. And I think the police brutality is not the true culprit. I think it's a symptom of the consciousness of Americans. The real culprit is white supremacy. The real culprit is white economic power. And again, I think the thing with police officers and how they're brutalizing Black people, it has to do with and Black Lives Matter. I think it has to do with the lack of value that, I'm not going to say all Americans, because I don't believe all Americans are like this. I don't think every white person thinks negatively or have a poor opinion of Black people. I think there are some people in power that want to remain in power. They want to see to it that European Americans maintain the economic and social power. And so I want to, bear with me, you guys. I should disclose to you guys to what's happening with me. I suffer from a post-concussion syndrome. And my concussion and the perpetuate, it continuing, why my concussion is so bad, and I'm having a problem recovering, has to do with the racial injustice that I experienced. But I'm not going to discuss that. You can go find out about me on the content about my situation. So I'm only letting you know that because sometimes I get lost, and it has to do with my post-concussion syndrome that I have, and probably some anxiety that I've experienced my own self of being victimized by injustice in America. But what I want to say to you is that I don't think it's just the police officers that are guilty. I think that's the most impactful because it's one of the more severe things. black people being murdered, wrongly jailed. Those are the things that we see on the forefront. Those are the things that we make the most noise about. Okay? But black people, a lot of us experience injustices every single day of our lives. And what I want to say to you, if you believe that we can't be free from bondage, I really need you to change how you think and how you feel. Okay? Please don't think that. Please don't think that we can't change things and we can't fix things. What I want to say to you, unity, cohesion will be our equalizer. You rock with me. Stay with me. Rock with me. Go on this journey with me. And we will find, I want to say salvation, because it's salvation. We're in bondage, and we have been for 400 years. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to get too much into that. I want to say focus on what Sandy Speaks is going to be about. Sandy Speaks is going to be about identifying injustices in America. Okay? And so, this is going to be stick to the code. Okay? One of the things that I want to talk about with black people is you got to show up for yours. Okay? If you are seeing injustices happen at work or on the street, I don't want you to go out here and endanger your life. Okay? I do think we need to proceed intelligently, not to make rash decisions. You have to be very careful in how you move. But I just want you to not think, oh, there's another black person being persecuted. There's another black man being murdered. Like, that's what happens. We can't do anything about it. No. So many are out here protesting. We're on Instagram, making noise, commenting. And I want you to continue to do that. I want you, primarily, one of my main objectives is to get you to change how you think. My main objective is to get you to know and believe that we deserve better and we can have better. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, so what we're going to do, this is what my goal is. So many of us are suffering from many different injustices in America. And what I believe is that so many things are happening. A lot of things, the important aspects of it is getting lost. What I think that it's so much, and there's so many different agencies and entities that are trying to address the issue, that we are not as effective as we could be. Okay? One of the main things that I believe is that our energy are not always directed to the right direction. I'm going to give you an example. Breonna Taylor. That girl was home. I was a good girl at home, sleeping with a man. And everybody's up in arms about the 3 police officers. But what I need you to understand, America is a country of laws, rules, guidelines. Judge Mary Shaw signed the warrant for the police officers to go into this girl's home. And there's checks and balances for a reason. Police officers have an agenda. They have goals. They have goals and measurable goals. So in different areas, in different industries, people have goals and they don't always stick to the plan or the guidelines to achieve their goals. So to some degree, the police officers are biased, okay? And they're, sometimes they're not, we're human beings, so we make mistakes. And we can have a goal and make mistakes. That's why Judge Mary Shaw has a higher standard. Judge Mary Shaw signed a no-knock warrant for them police officers to go into that young lady's home. Everybody's mad at the police. And being police people, please don't think I'm being disrespectful to you. But what happened to that girl and who we need to hold accountable is above your pay grade. No one's looking at Judge Mary Shaw. She has a higher standard. No one discussed why did she sign the warrant. No one looked at Judge Mary Shaw and says, how many warrants has she signed? She said from what I know, and I don't even know, that she studied for 30 minutes. Do you think 30 minutes is long enough to study and investigate a no-knock warrant to go into a young black woman's home? Looking at something for 30 minutes? Is that enough investigation? Do you know enough about the situation? See, I'm getting anxiety because this is making me sick to think about this. Judge Mary Shaw, a woman who went to college, has a postgraduate degree, who passed the bar, who was an attorney, who's now a sitting judge, signed a no-knock warrant. What was on that request that a judge, intelligent, supposedly, critical thinker, proper decision maker, that's going to agree to let police officers go into a no-knock? See, it becomes problematic when we're not knocking. It becomes problematic when we're not identifying who we are. Did she believe that it's risk or reward? The reward of what the community was going to receive in them knocking on this girl's door? That it was so detrimental that they received something, whatever they were achieving, to knock on this girl's door. A woman who's never been arrested, who does not have a record or whatever. So, I'm sorry, I'm going to try my best to stay focused because we are not as successful as we need to be because we're focused on the wrong thing and we're looking at the wrong people and we're holding the wrong people accountable. So Sandy Speaks, one of the things Sandy Speaks is going to do, we are going to address different scenarios. We are going to identify different players. To give you an example, Derek Chauvin, the murderer of George Floyd. I might not be saying his name right. William Robbie Bryant, George and Travis Michaels, who killed Ahmaud Arbery. So these people I just named, Sandy Speaks, we're going to name these people. Derek Chauvin, I may be saying his name wrong. He's the one that murdered George Floyd. William Robbie Bryant, George and Travis Michael killed Ahmaud Arbery. So through Sandy Speaks, we're going to name these people. We're going to investigate their history. So when people commit crimes or civil violations, they have a history of it. Okay? So part of Sandy Speaks is we're going to look at each individual situation. We're going to dissect it based on who was involved, what exactly happened. So, for example, Derek Chauvin, I hope I'm saying his name right. Y'all know who I'm talking about, the guy who killed George Floyd. Okay? I haven't heard much about George Floyd. They're sitting there trying to say he was on drugs. This is what I'm talking about. This man had his foot on this boy's neck for 12 minutes. Black people, we have to be critical thinkers and we have to demand justice based on what is proper and what is sound, what a proper and sound person would do. Okay? If someone's saying George Floyd died because he was doing drugs, when we all saw a police officer had his foot on his neck, here's the thing. Why did he have his foot on his neck for 12 minutes? because he didn't value black people's life. See, what we're going to do at Sandra Speaks, we're going to dissect each individual racial injustice, and we're going to use sound judgment to identify the things that happen. We're going to demonstrate. Remember I told y'all I want to new Civil Rights Act? And how are we going to do that? We're going to identify, validate, black people need extra protection in America. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that because we're going to demonstrate the consciousness of non-black people in America. We're going to demonstrate the consciousness of people in authority. Okay? Example, Sandy Speaks, Sandra Bland. The police officer spoke down to her and he smacked her. Please tell me, what right did he have to smack that woman? So when we talk about Brian Encina, I'll put his picture up here, whatever his name is, he smacked her. Did he have a... So Brian Encina, whatever the man named who was involved in the murder of Sandra Bland, this is a police officer. Why did he smack her? He didn't have to smack her. If he even noticed that she was angry, upset, or agitated, you stopped her. This is what happened with Sandra Bland. Sandra Bland observed the police officer behind her. She wasn't thinking, so she moved up and get out of his way. He set her up. Then when he's talking to her, she's agitated. She's a human being. You're giving her a ticket. Of course she's going to be agitated. Okay? But see, this is a police officer. Remember I told you have a level of duty and responsibility? If your job is to give people a ticket and stop them, normal reaction is you're going to be a little upset. You're going to be annoyed. Man, you give me a ticket, I got somewhere to go. Yeah, I'm annoyed. Put out my cigarette for what? Why is my cigarette bothering you? If you're giving me a ticket, why don't you just give me a ticket and let me go? But that's not what happened. What happened was he harassed her. He smacked her. So, okay, stay in focus. Black people, we're going to look at these situations and we're going to determine the state of mind of these people in power who's violating black people. And why I'm incensed is because this isn't rocket science. This doesn't require a lot. That man smacking her, to me, was grounds for termination. He had no reason to put his hands on her. Let's talk about police brutality. When police officers, we've seen police officers punch people in the head, hold them down. I need someone, if you don't agree with me, leave a comment. Let's talk about it. If it's your job to keep the peace, I talked to a sheriff today from LA, and I want to say his name because he's a good sheriff. He says, I'm a civil servant. If you're a civil servant and your job is to keep the peace and make sure we don't break the law, she changed lanes without signaling, may have been a traffic hazard. The ticket was to say, you might want to think twice before you change without signaling, and you could cause an accident. That's what his goal should have been if that's what he was just giving her a ticket. The ticket is to be a deterrent. The ticket say, if you do something wrong, if you do a traffic violation, we're going to give you a ticket and we're going to fine you. That's to remind you, next time you might want to be mindful. If you ever got a ticket for doing something, the next time you're a lot more careful in doing that, right? You're a lot more careful. And so, okay, you guys. So again, this is the first official reemergence of Sandy Speaks, originally started by the legendary Sandra Bland. And I want to quickly identify, well, not quickly, the best of my ability, identify what the goal and objectives of, again, Sandra Bland, Sandy Speaks. So we are going to dissect instances and occurrences of what appears to be racial injustices. We're going to create a list, and we're going to identify as the list. Okay? So, for example, and I know I'm not saying this man's name, Brian Encina. Brian Encina, who arrested Sandra Bland, who I believe wrongfully arrested her, we are going to put him on the list. If we're going to say Brian Encina is on the list because we believe that he perpetuates racial injustice in our country. And we're going to, if we know his name and we identify who he is and what he looks like, if it happens again, if he's at a job or in some type of position of power, because we identified he's on this list of people who violated black people, people who are in the power of, in the position of power, abusing their power. So you can think whatever you want to think about Brian Encina based on what I saw. And it becomes, when we say it becomes a thing of opinion. I think that I don't agree with that. We all saw that he smacked her. To me, him smacking her was state of mind. Everything he did, for me, as a critical thinker, tells me that he had no regard for her life. If his goal and his objective was to give her a ticket, that's what he should have done. Okay, so we're going to create a list. And the purpose of the list is that hopefully Sandy Speaks will take a life of its own. People will use us as a source, reference to say, hey, this police officer stopped me, or this judge did this to me, or I had this happen. Let me go to Sandy Speaks and see, is this person on the list? Okay, I'm not an app developer. I'm not really good at stuff like that, but hopefully we'll get Sandy Speaks so savvy that we can create a periodical or a list of, because it's going to be called The List. Derek Chauvin, the people that murdered Ahmaud Arbery. Okay, so we're going to talk about the murderers and the people that are guilty, but also to the list, we're going to name the people who tried to cover it up. Okay, if you know anything about my situation, I use the Central Park 5 as an example. Because to me, how did 5 minority boys get arrested, go to jail for several years for something they didn't do? In order for there to be all this to happen, it has to be different departments a party to this racial injustice. Okay? So what I'm referring to is the Ahmaud Arbery situation. Ahmaud Arbery was murdered. The only reason why it reared its head is because of George Floyd. There was a district attorney, and there were other people that had the video of the murder of this young man. And as I speak today, I don't know the names of those players. When I address the Ahmaud Arbery situation, because we're going to address each individual case, Sandy Speaks, we're going to talk about Elijah McClain. Okay, I'm going to let y'all know Elijah McClain is my heart hurts, because that could have been my son. Okay? When we talk about each individual case, we're going to talk about the person that perpetuated the crime. Okay, am I saying that properly? Okay, whoever. So the actual person who murdered the victim. Then we're going to discuss the people that are involved. Okay, like Breonna Taylor. Everyone's mad at the anti-black person, district attorney. Oh, y'all. I don't want to give y'all too much stuff, but we're going to talk about the anti-black person. The original name was called the house nigga. We're going to talk about the house nigga because the house nigga is guilty. The house nigga is responsible for a lot of these injustices going on. Okay, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to try not to get in too deep right now because this is the introduction. Okay, I'm trying to lay the groundwork so you can see my goal and my objective. My goal and objective first, we're going to list these people who are guilty. What I'm trying to communicate to you now is not just the person that created the crime. Once a crime is committed, And if there's no justice for that crime, we're going to identify and figure out why wasn't there any justice. We're going to say, okay, Ahmaud Arbery was shot while he was jogging by racist ex-police officers. And this is the shit to kill me, pardon my French, y'all. They had the audacity and was breaking up the videotapers. And see, y'all, they do this to black people because they don't think we have the intelligence, and more importantly, they don't think we have the integrity to stick together. If they thought all the black people in America, with our social influence, if they thought that we can get together and make change, you think they'd be putting their foot in the man of the neck of a black man in front of the world and everybody? You think they'd be smacking women when they stop them for a traffic violation? No. Black people, they don't think that we have the racial pride to stick together. But we do. We just need more organization. That's all. We need to be a little bit more organized. We need to identify what's occurring, and we need to find solutions. So the beginning of this, Sandra Speaks, primarily one of the goals is the list. And what I'm trying to say to you is that the list is going to consist more of just the perpetrator or the direct person who perpetrated the racial injustice. We're going to discuss how did it continue and why we didn't get justice. In the case of Elijah McClain, I think the district attorney's name is Young. When I talk about that, he made all these reasons why he felt it wasn't necessary or he couldn't pursue a case against the officers that murdered Elijah McClain. So I believe his name is District Attorney Young. He's on the list. So I want you to understand what we're doing here. Okay, so when you make the list, and hopefully you guys will share Sandy Speaks with your friends and everyone else, and help people be aware of Sandy Speaks. So if another occurrence happens and the District Attorney Young is responsible or has a say in what happens, you're going to come to Sandy Speaks and we're going to say, hey, listen, I got the situation with District Attorney Young that he didn't follow through or he didn't do what was necessary for me to have justice. So again, let's talk about the objective. The objective is to enact a new civil rights, updated Civil Rights Act to the laws. The American, I guess, Constitution. I'm not a lawyer, you guys, so y'all need to give me the vernacular or the proper language if I'm saying incorrectly. What I know is that black people need additional protection. How do we achieve that goal? We achieve that goal because we show that there is a serious issue in America where black people, their lives are being violated because of the continued racial injustice in America. So we want to change the laws. What I want to call it is the updated Civil Rights Act, Judge Floyd Reform 2020. That's my goal. Okay? How do we do that? We do that by saying we show that there's a need for it. How is there a need for it? There's a need for it because it's an abundance of all these situations and scenarios where black people are being violated. Okay? So the list is going to identify these people who are violating civil rights. Sometimes you can make a mistake. Okay? Sometimes you can have a bad day, have poor judgment. And, hey, you're not perfect. We make mistakes. But if these people are on the list and there's continued violations and continued occurrences, similar occurrences, the same issue, then we're saying, hey, there's a problem with this district attorney. There's a problem with this police officer. Okay? Okay, so that's the first part. And then we're going to talk about sticking to the code. Okay? Y'all, I have to put together a definition, the bylaw, or something. Black people, we need to stick to the code. Okay? And we're going to talk more about that. I'm going to give you examples of situations where here's what it is. And it's really hard for me because I'm not a racist person. Literally, I'm not. I love everybody. I don't see people that way. I gravitate to people that don't look like me because I'm inquisitive. And I wonder how they think and how they live and what makes them tick. I've always been that way. You know, if you come from Japanese culture, both my kids are the same way. We want to learn about Japanese culture. I know my own culture, you know. If you live, you know, in the Midwest, I don't know much people from the Midwest. I want to talk to you, have a conversation with you. So the point that I'm making is that I love black people, but I try not to have preconceived notions about people. Of course, we all do to some degree, but I try to be conscious of that. So in terms of sticking to the code, with white supremacy, okay, I'm going to give you an example. Maybe, for example, you've been at work and you had a disagreement at work, and you're a black person, and you had a disagreement with a white person, and you guys are having a discussion trying to remedy the problem. And I'm sure this happened to many of you. And then it's another person involved, and they don't say the truth. They seem to be on the side of the white person. And y'all, I'm not even comfortable saying this or articulating this, okay? But I know that it's necessary. Frequently, white people will stick together because the person white. They're like, we've all been in that situation where we've been in school or at work and we have a disagreement with someone and of a different race, or maybe in a different group. Maybe you're in a sorority and you have a disagreement with the person in a different sorority or a different department, and you tend to be in favor of that person from your group, from your department, from your race. Same thing. We have a code, okay? Black people, we need a code. We need to stick to the code. And okay, I'm gonna give you a quick example. And I know this first introduction Sandy speak is long. I'm gonna give you an example. Monique. Oh, Monique, I love you, sister. I'm a big girl too. And I love you. You are smart. You are funny. You are one of the black women in the world that make me proud to be a black woman. But sister, I'm not with you throwing Oprah Winfrey and Lee Daniels under the bus. I don't know what happened. I don't know how bad or how detrimental it was for you. Sister, I love you. But I'm not for you throwing black people under the bus. Okay? Oprah Winfrey has created jobs, opportunity. However you feel about Oprah, because I got issues with Oprah. Coming from Michael Jackson, I wasn't cool with that. Okay? Hey, what you doing? I love Michael Jackson. That's another thing. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You stick to the code. Okay? I know there's right and wrong, and I get it. But there's something about having some blind, unwavering loyalty to those who look like you. And from what I'm looking at, for me analyzing the situation and what's going on and how in 2020 they putting their foot on black people's neck and murder them in broad daylight, when the president of the United States during a debate does some kind of nod to white supremacy, ooh, what's that about? They sticking to their code. It's time to stick to ours. So Sandy Speaks is going to talk about sticking to the code. Sandy Speaks is going to create a list of people who have violated other people of color. This is, what else I want to say? Because I need to go ahead and wrap this up. And so, I know what I want to tell you really quickly. Okay, so one of the things, one more thing I want to say to you. One of the other, I'm trying to identify the goals and objectives of Sandy Speaks. And I'm trying to explain to you why I think it's important that we do Sandy Speaks. We reignite Sandy Speaks in honor of the great Sandra Bland. Another example is, his name is Khalif Browder. I'm terrible with names, you guys. I'm not saying his name properly. I also have an Instagram. I'm gonna list it down below so you guys can see, because I make posts about different situations. Real quickly, Khalif Browder was the guy, the young boy in New York who was arrested and was in Rikers Island, I think, for 3 years without getting a trial. And he eventually was released with time served. And he eventually committed suicide. Y'all, this is hard for me, but these are human beings. And the situation with Khalif Browder, some young man corrected how I pronounce his name on my Instagram. And if you see this video, come and shout out and come fuck with me. All right. Anyway, Khalif Browder, what we to know is that he was arrested for stealing a backpack. A judge gave him a large bail, and he was in Rikers Island for 3 years waiting trial because he didn't want to plead guilty because he didn't do anything. And the reason why Sandra Bland is so important, because we are going to disseminate this information and dissect each occurrences from the perspective of Black people. And we want to make sure that everything, all the truth is on the table. Regarding Khalif Browder, the police stopped him because he was a Black man walking with a backpack. And what the police officer did said it was stolen. I researched it. When I first heard about it, I thought maybe he did steal a backpack. The police officer arrested him for stealing a backpack. I thought the original injustice was this boy was in jail for 3 years awaiting trial because he didn't want to plead guilty. That because it was such a small crime, he shouldn't have went to jail for 3 years, or maybe possibly his bail should have been $10,000. But after I investigated it and I saw a video with his brother telling what actually happened, he was walking down the street with a backpack. And y'all, right now I'm in Los Angeles, but I grew up in New York City. I grew up in the Bronx. I frequent the South Bronx. Back in the day, well, I'm an old broad, y'all, but back in the day when crack was an issue, they would stop you in the South Bronx just because. Black man standing on the street. This police officer saw a young Black boy walking down the street with a backpack, and he just thought he was going, because he not following the law. So we said, we're going to dissect situations, and we're going to track offenders, people who break the law repeatedly. Okay? Khalif Browder was walking down the street. His mother had just let him stay out longer than she would normally. This is what hurts my heart, because I was a mom, and I was a strict mom. I was a helicopter mom for a long, long time because I didn't want things to happen to my child. This woman eventually died because of her son's death. It killed her, okay? He was out, staying out later than he normally would. So his mom let him stay out later. He had a backpack. The police officer saw a young Black brother with a backpack and assumed there was something illegal in that backpack. So he stopped him. He arrested him. Also, he can look in his backpack. When the police officer did the report, he said he stole it. It's no record of him stealing a backpack. He just said that. So, if you know the story of Khalif Browder, if you don't dig deep and investigate and read other things or find out, investigate, you think, oh, this Black kid stole a backpack and he got sent up the river. No, this young boy was walking down the street and a corrupt cop, remember I told you about goals and objectives? Police officers who have goals and objectives to keep their job. Let me go ahead and get this nigga. More than likely he's guilty of something, so let me stop him. See, this is America. That's a violation of our civil rights. So, Sandy Speaks is going to teach people how to make sure our civil rights are not violated. And if they are, we're going to hold those accountable for violating our civil rights, okay? I'm going to close this first official video. I want to talk about Sandra Bland one last time. Sandra Bland gave her life for us. And I'm hurt, y'all. Sandra Bland was found hung in a jail cell. And if you saw anything about her, you know anything about this beautiful girl, she was trying to make a difference. I'm going to ask you people, if you are a Black person and you normally don't get involved in situations like this, if you out living your life, going to college, trying to live, trying to survive, trying to feed your family, I appreciate you, but I need you to rock with me. I need you to come comment on Sandy Speaks. If you know something about one of the stories we talk about, give information, say whatever you think. I'm a critical thinker. Anything you put on here, I'm going to investigate, and I'm not going to take it for face value, because I don't do that. If you might say something that, so you want to come on here and lie, y'all can go ahead and do that. But I'm not just going to assume that what you're telling me is the truth. I'm going to let y'all know that I'm a critical thinker. If you tell me something about someone, I'm going to investigate it. I'm going to make sure I on here just posting because you're grudging about somebody or something, okay? Please don't come on here and lie and tell me things that's not true. Please don't make me spend my time investigating stuff that's not true. I need y'all to come rock with me, okay? Because my goal is to free us from bondage, okay? And I'm excited because it's my purpose. And I'm just, when I think about Sandra Bland, and I think it's unfortunate that she lost her life. So Sandra Bland's family watching this, I hope you are not angry, upset, or offended by me continuing what Sandra Bland created. This is Sandy Speaks. And sister, you still speak, girl. Sandy Speaks. This is for you, sister. You still speaking. And you my soul sister, and I rock with you, Sandra Bland. You wild and crazy like me, full of life. When I saw you, I said, shit, I'm Sandra Bland. Well, Sandy Speaks.
They killing us for walking, killing us for jogging, kill us in our homes and fabricate it and hide it. Where we had Sandra Blands and Trayvon Martins. If when you kill us, your family was a target. If your children was orphans, when you had compassion and next time you approach us, yeah, we fed up, this is built up, your city up in smoke, homeboy, we had enough. And I ain't Tyson, riots of violence heighten the climate. I'm saying you smack me, I'm punching you in your iris. Retaliation is prescribed in both Bible and Quran. In the matters of the slang, see an eye for an eye, especially if the Justice Department do not comply.